the way this is set up. But we'll take a look at that in just a moment. Okay, so looks like we're all set. So good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared, and it is February 15th. So we are, of course, mid-month and sort of looking at the trade activity from yesterday, along with whether or not anything really took place from a price standpoint. Certainly there was a lot of volatility on yesterday's trade, but some of the underlying market internals showed a lot of slop or just high-low performance. Therefore, the overall S&P didn't really have too much of a gain on yesterday's trade, even though we did close a bit higher than the previous close. And for the most part, we can kind of tell that the market was not quite decisive on what was being reported from the CPI. There wasn't necessarily the strongest rally, but there also wasn't a complete sell-off. Some of our analysis yesterday indicated that if the market were to go down on the session, we were looking at approximately 410 to 408 as kind of the covering area for bears. And what you'll notice yesterday is, barring the morning, which we kind of dipped our toes into 410, and that was the morning takeoff that we saw. There were a couple of attempts to sort of breach into those regions, and most of the bearish trade, we observed that it was a lot of covering in this area. You could kind of indicate things like demand zones forming over the price activity. And subsequently, once the market started to sort of reclaim VWAP, the structure of the chart, let me take these, take those off. You know, once we got above VWAP here, that's kind of when the market average kind of changed back into a bullish favor. So not necessarily the greatest day of performance, but there were quite a few quick opportunities. And I think overall the volatility kept us engaged with some of the type of swings that we saw. So when it comes to the CPI, I think if you're going to look a little deeper into what was actually provided from that data release, one of the suggestions is to try to ignore a lot of the ways people are spinning the CPI data as of now. I've been mostly seeing a lot of analysis done on CPI X some aspect of the economic market. So you're seeing things like CPI X rent, CPI X food and energy, which is sort of a common one. And people are putting their own kind of spins based on removing a portion of the data that we received and starting to look at trends. For myself, if I were to review what was reported, the thing I would just want to look at is month over month changes in different categories. And if you're someone who has seen a CPI report before, they essentially will group all of the categories respectively. They'll show month over month percentage changes, and you can just start to see which areas of the economy are most affected, not only from rate of change percentages, but whether or not the volatility of those rates of changes are typical. Kind of similar to what we do with the stock market. You know, Apple being up 1% versus Tesla being up 3%, sometimes those are equivalent moves and effects, but usually the volatility along with whether there's a big rate of change will tell you if something is much more impactful. So I was kind of talking as I was loading the trading terminal. The overall report itself did indicate that there was a slight rebound in inflationary readings, especially year over year, and comparing it back to January 2022. The month over month was roughly in line, but as I mentioned before, there are some categories that did experience relatively steep rate of change back to the upside for inflationary pressures. A lot of these categories are, of course, very consumer sensitive categories, and most would argue that they are falling within just basic needs and services. Things like utility prices was one that comes to mind. Food prices are still sort of a general concern, but more often than not, it's categorized by different livestock and whether they're producing significant supply-demand imbalance. Along with, there's a couple of reductions, one of which was kind of surprising, was like used auto sales. Used automobiles tend to still have a higher sticker price, but it did look as if there was sort of I guess a retreat or retracement back from what we saw in December. Maybe some of the end of year kind of bonuses and just resurgence of capital into the market provided some of that boost. So it's an interesting report this time around. I also indicated yesterday that some of the ways they calculate those percentages have changed. I do recommend doing maybe your own research there. But all in all, what did the market do off of this data? And more often than not, if the market didn't necessarily have a strong reaction, barring maybe today's trade, which we'll look to see if anything does start to really shake apart, it's indicating that the market had done a fairly decent job pricing a lot of that in, and maybe it's looking forward to some of the secondary effects of a report such as that. That would be more towards your FOMC target rate probabilities, along with whether or not this shifted, whether the Fed is even looking at pivot this year. A lot of the bull, sort of like the perma-bull thesis this year, is that the Fed will have a period where they're looking to pivot and essentially start lowering the target fund rate. That probability used to be a little bit higher, closer to the November and December timeframes. The target rate was still close to 5.25 or 5.25 to 5.5. And those have changed a little bit as well, just the general percentages. But you see how that starts to slope back down out in December, sort of where they expect the target rate to be by the December meeting. That was indicating a pivot. And this shift changed a little bit on yesterday's trade. I don't necessarily have the chart from yesterday. I'd have to figure out how to get that data. And while it's not saying that, that thesis is completely off the table, it's definitely a more future looking probability, at which point, there's a lot more data effect that could significantly change that thesis. I'm certainly more in the camp that the Fed is going to eventually get to their target rate sooner rather than later. If we were talking maybe last year, I would have indicated the May meeting as kind of being the topping point for the rate increases. And then we were going to see multiple meetings of essentially stall. No rate increase provided, but a lot more commentary and discussion as opposed to the actual effect of the rate hike itself. So that's kind of where I was leaning, not to say that my bias was any different than others. And more so, I'm looking kind of back at the bond market to see if there's any acceptance or rejection of that thesis. One thing that the bond market is doing similar to equities is it's always forward looking relative to does it expect more rate hikes in the near future, and is it starting to price that in? If bond products are starting to retreat, in this case, go down in price, we are seeing rates return back to the upside. The 10-year has had sort of a technical range bounce, if you will. If you're good at marking price levels, you can kind of see where it's coming from. And for the most part, we're returning back close to almost 4% on 10-year. I think 5-year has returned almost to 4% as of yesterday. Yeah, yesterday it did hit 4%. And for the most part, if the bond market's kind of advertising something, whether or not equities are responding yet is notable, because if there is divergence, that could equalize the future. And one thing that we're noticing here is bonds have been sort of declining, but the NASDAQ has not. If you're familiar with some of the correlations from last year, I'll pull up just like QQQ. You'll notice that for the most part, the bond market and the NASDAQ market tend to trade in correlation. However, the NASDAQ is more volatile. So, the amplitude of the buys and the sells amidst some of the longer trends, you're going to see them more significant in the NASDAQ, and that's true to the downside as well. What I'm noticing as far as recently, the NASDAQ sort of provided a triple bottom as the bond market was continuing to provide higher lows. There has been sort of I would say like a structural tightening of price, more of like a pennant structure in this region, and the NASDAQ has been breaking out. So the question then becomes, does the NASDAQ not have this correlation anymore, or is it not as impactful? And if it is, if it's not, then so be it. We just won't look at it. If it is still impactful, why is it starting to diverge? And is that an opportunity? Similar to any sort of equalization or linear regression, return to the mean kind of trade, convergences that are not necessarily in alignment might offer realignment in the future. And we just want to make sure that the technicals are in our favor. So that is one thing to maybe keep an eye on, because at least from yesterday, take this off real quick. From yesterday, we did see some major shifts in bond performance. As of the past maybe half month or so, there has been a divergence, and yet tech leadership has been notable. The question is it going to continue? The technicals would suggest that yes, the range has been broken. There's a back test in play. As long as that kind of remains intact, the NASDAQ kind of has the favor of the bulls. And that's great, of course, for, just seeing continuation in tech and discretionaries, all of our sort of risk on stocks. But we also know that they're a bit overextended. So it's one of those weird things where you don't necessarily want to fight a trend, but you also want to be looking for reasons to change your bias. I'm certainly looking for that, but as far as downside behavior, the bears are not proving it. So what behavior do you expect from 1, 5, and 10-year bonds if rate expectations increase? Well, so you're providing both sides. So if rate expectations increase, the bond market will continue to slide down or pull back, which means rates will continue to increase. So the bond market and the rate correlation to their respective, I'll say like year index, those are inversely correlated perfectly. A 1-year rate increase will affect the 1-year treasury bills. The question is, why is the bond market pricing higher rates right now? Based on what the Fed is doing, why is the bond market basically calling a little bit of a bluff? And A lot of people will be looking at things like the 1 year or maybe like the 30-day, some of the shorter term values to see whether or not they believe the Fed's probabilistic model of when they're going to stop rate hikes or this year. So we haven't really looked at that in a while, but you can get a lot of that off of the Treasury Department as opposed to these platforms. Let's see. I didn't even have the thing loaded, but so what is the bond market pricing sort of risk-free rates to be relative to what the Fed fund rate is? And if we're seeing significant changes in these values, is the bond market not agreeing or agreeing with what the Fed has indicated they're going to do? Now, I'm not saying, looking at the 10-year gives you all that information, but I think on the shorter term side, you can kind of see, like a 1 year is priced at 5%. So as far as next February or maybe like end of year, the bond market at this moment agrees that the top end of the Fed fund rate is approximately 5%. That's what this is indicating. But along the way, there's some other movements that can kind of be taken advantage of, especially if things are under or over expectation. So why is the bond market forward looking for equities? Because if you saw last year's behavior in the stock market, the rate changes that we were experiencing last year affected equity pricing. It didn't make sense for a lot of the riskier assets to be valued in such a way, like with extreme fundamental price metrics, if the risk-free rate of return of some of the, let's say, bond products were offering similar, if not more significant potential. It's also true that the equity market tends to sort of align its pricing relative to risk-free rates because equities are inherently more risky. So if they're marked up to a certain point and there's better risk of return in other markets, the equities market might see some capital outflow and that capital goes elsewhere. Last year was a bit of an anomalous year, but that's kind of the general idea. You want to have capital allocated in areas of risk relative to your tolerance and the market's tolerance of risk as well. And that's why usually in times of decline, you're wanting to figure out, why is the equity declining? Is it because it was overvalued? Is it because there's fear and uncertainty? Is it because it's not really performing to its valuation? The earnings will kind of give you a sense of that, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, back to the conversation at hand. So as far as today's concerned, I would be looking for a little bit of a clear decision by the market. And for the most part, once again, bulls have control of a lot of the core trends, a lot of the structure, et cetera, et cetera. But we're noticing very clearly now how we're starting to trade. And once again, we advertised this very early so that no one was confused. But the S&P is trading in a balance range. It is an area of congestion that often has a lot of volatility packed into it. There's a lot of really strong overhead resistance at approximately 416.50 to 418, coming off of those June levels. Once again, you can see some of the hits here. They're quite precise. Just marking where highs are. This was not done after price was quantified. It was done back here. It's also true that the low is holding. That pullback on Friday kind of showcased, at the very least, a little bit of trend structure returning back to the market. And really now what we're trying to see is, does the bull structure have enough energy to continue? For now, I'm going to give it a little bit of a bullish lean, because there are some stocks that are still pressing quite hard to the upside, whether they're in some sort of gamma squeeze or just where money is flowing at the moment, even if it's short term. Stocks like Tesla are still pushing through a lot of their pivots, and for the most part are keeping the bulls kind of engaged with the market. NVIDIA is very similar as well. These two are actually performing almost equivalently over the past year, or year to date. Their performance is very similar. I would also agree that their pullbacks are kind of in the same location, so they're following a very similar price track. For those names, I would kind of keep your eye on, if we start to lose momentum here, that's when I would start to be concerned, because across the board, there's been some weakness and names that are maybe set up for a bounce today. That's kind of why I'm leaning bullish today, because if the weak stocks bounce, if the strong stocks continue, there's a little bit more edge to the upside. It's kind of having a couple of forces in your favor. But as I mentioned, the sector performance has been sloppy. Either it's being sort of rotated very slowly, or we're just not really seeing a lot of all-out leadership across multiple sectors. This is what yesterday looked like, and you can tell it's not great. There's leadership here, but remember, Tesla was up 7%. There's leadership here, but remember, NVIDIA was up 5%, something like that. It just goes to show that there was one or two stocks in those strong categories that just kind of held up everything. And then while there wasn't a ton of weakness, there wasn't necessarily like market breadth helping out with the performance yesterday. That's also true over the past week. Ever since we've entered into this balanced range area, it feels as if a lot of things are kind of shifting underneath the market. Doesn't mean it's bearish, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on this, because if we start to lose what has been holding us here, that of course can kind of shift the trend. We're not losing it yet, but they are pushing a bit too far too fast, and that can change very quickly. So it's more of a note of, as a intraday bull, I follow price action. If price action is going up, I want to be long. If price action is going down, I want to be short, because I only have a day. As a day trader, there's only so much time to take advantage of the stock. As a swing trader, things are also still looking okay, but most of the pullbacks are launching right now. So the question is, are they going to make new highs, or are they going to sort of stall out somewhere in the middle? And then as an end of trend analysis, usually trends end in one of two ways. Quietly, which is often just where you actually get price disruption and start to see sort of that longer consolidation effort, or violently, where things are so extreme that they actually have the widest spreads at the top. And then, of course, there's no one left to buy or no one left to sell, and then you get these big turnarounds. It's happened before. It's kind of like looking at this downtrend and seeing how it ended. It's true that, there were some signals down here that it was going to bounce, but also just look at how it stopped selling. You can kind of see some similar characteristics up here, even though it's still pushing. So whatever stock you're observing, the two that are leading right now really are Tesla and Nvidia. Just be aware that things are getting to some extremes. If you're just looking at the trend, it's still bullish, but don't let yourself be dissuaded by the downside risk. The higher it goes, if it were to change, that of course would provide an opportunity. And some things I'm looking for here, gap fills are kind of the easy thing to spot on NVIDIA because there are a few of them incoming. I think 231.19. If anything does hit there, that would be interesting. If not, then we have to be open to the idea that it can keep pushing and there's not a lot of resistance. The next gap fill would be almost 259.31. So, there are some levels coming in, but if you're trying to play counter trend on strong stocks, you don't want to do that on the intraday. You want to find strength where there is strength, weakness where there's weakness, and then if you're a swing trader or a bit of contrarian, look for that on maybe like a 2 to 3 day time frame because you need a setup. You need it to actually show a change. Right now, these do not. So, and additionally, I'd be careful of the weak stocks today because they look like they're about to bounce. I think Microsoft was actually a bit surprising. It held better than the Alphabet did, but it did show weakness. Another thing that's kind of interesting is start to look at these oversolds. Unfortunately, I missed out on trading these yesterday, but the stocks that were in play, they obviously went parabolic. They're starting to show like the oversold characteristic where they drop, from high to low. I think this thing dropped 30%. And then on yesterday's trade, it bounced 15%. So that's massive opportunity. It's just about timing. Being a buyer closer to 20 had a little bit of edge than trying to fight the parabolic on the way back down. You're trying to time a little bit of that oversold. And usually the hourly will give you a lot of clues. If you're sort of an oversold trader, you start to look for indication that price is diverging from the pullback that we're getting on the daily. So some interesting setups. Unfortunately, a few of them already triggered from yesterday, but I think for today, definitely kind of keep towards what's in play. Hopefully we get some similar volatility to yesterday, but I'm also hoping it's a bit more market wide because there really wasn't core leadership except for those few stocks, and the rest of the market was very whipsaw. Sort of had its value zone established near the previous day close, and it provided a lot of trickery on yesterday's trade. So yeah, I guess for all that said, trade safe today. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. We'll kind of look at what happens today because I think as far as like a digestion of the CPI, today would be a good day to see if anything comes into effect from it. Is the market truly shrugging this data off, or are we starting to actually see some return of fear? So talk to y'all then. Stay tuned for pre-market prep, and see you tomorrow.
All right. Good. Turn the volume over here. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PreMarket Prep. I hope you're having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had an incredible day yesterday. Peter, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning, Carlos. I am great. Sounds like you're doing
Right.
good too.
I'm doing good every morning, man. Every morning I'm doing good. I wake up and it's like, let's get this done. Yeah. So doing good.
Life is a dream, eh?
Oh yeah,
That's
I'm
a good
living the
place to
dream,
be.
baby. No question. Um, all right, let's get to it, guys. Yesterday we had our list was dead on. I think many of us had the same list. We had semis and we had Tesla. And today already looks like this morning those are also doing pretty good so far as activity. You have at least Tesla is right. Tesla over here, it's up 2%, 4.9. And yeah, just they continue the move yesterday from Tesla was just insane. It continues to provide some really good volatility. You 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 got to be careful with it. Obviously, some of the pullbacks are aggressive, but yesterday you didn't get that, especially that first opening part of the day. The first hour or so was very, very clean towards the top side. We usually don't get this. It tends to be a little choppy the first 15-20 minutes. But not yesterday. Yesterday turned out really, really nice, broke out nicely, got toppy here, came back to the VWAP. And again, the VWAP is such an important indicator, especially on that first half of the day. Comes back to that, gives you, and this is what I'm talking about. This weird candle here could have stopped many people out. But once it shot back up like this, it was a great opportunity to go long again. And then you see how well it trends back up towards the high of the day. It took a while, but it definitely got there. But again, it just so many opportunities on Tesla yesterday. NVIDIA was another one that also popped up pretty early on and just shot up pretty nice here. Many of you actually took NVIDIA for long yesterday in the community instead of Tesla, and that one again paid out really nice as well. Then similar to Tesla, kind of comes back to the VWAP here, this blue line. I know you can barely see it. Fine support there, although we did dip below for a second there. And then you can see it goes back to the high of the day. It took a while, but it traded very nice. Apple was weird. Apple didn't really get the movement as other stocks did, right? They dropped, they went back up, back down, just kind of wrapped themselves around the VWAP until they just were really difficult to predict and understand what was happening with them. So not a great one. And I obviously AMD, similar to Nvidia and Tesla, that initial aggressive pop right out of the gates here, and then it kind of trending the entire day back towards the high here. So some really good opportunities on those. And then that's why I don't, what did a PLTR do? Did it do anything fun? PLTR. Um, no,
Towards the
let's
end
see.
of the day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see here after 1 o'clock got pretty good actually. And then coin I had on a secondary. Yeah, initial pop. But look at the dive here. Man, that's aggressive. And Meta didn't do a whole lot, just kind of sideways action there. So yeah, I mean, it continues to be our usual suspects here. If you look at these tickers, we've been watching these for a very, very long time. Tesla, Nvidia, Apple, and AMD traded very, very well on our gappers list this morning. We have quite a few on here on the gapping up today. We have Roblox, we have TTD. I want to say I haven't looked through these yet, but it looks like there are some earnings plays in here. But we'll have to check and go through them. And then on the gap down list, we got a couple of names that I have not seen. CRDO, ooh, down 45%. We'll dive into that. And then we got a couple of it looks like Chinese tickers. XBEV and Neo down today quite a bit. So let's see what's happening there. They got some good volume too, 900,000 on Neo. We'll see what's driving that this morning. Um, with all that said, Peter, what is the latest and greatest this morning?
Well, yesterday was the big news, of course, with the CPI numbers coming out. We saw that jump as we joined the yesterday morning in the pre-market show. Today, much calmer on the economic calendar. We have some retail sales and Empire State Manufacturing Index, both coming out momentarily, if they're not already out. But frankly, they don't tend to move the market. And then later, we got the Home Builders Index, which is interesting. But unless it's radically off the expectations again, don't expect it to have much of an impact. Today, the news seems to be all about earnings, really. We had a ton of earnings last night and a bunch more earnings that are coming up both this morning and at the close. So we'll be talking about those as we see them in the gappers.
All right. Um, All right, excellent. Hold on a second, guys. Okay, here we go. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, we'll go through this and see what we got going on today. Let's hop back in here, guys, and let's take a look at Roblox leading the way this morning, up 16%. So they are just getting it done here today. 2.1 million shares traded, and earnings this morning looks like I see a aggressive pop around 8 a.m. Pre-market earnings for Roblox here. And again, they're just doing very nice today. So, Roblox is one of these tickers that I tend to like. I think they can trade very well when they are in play. So I am going to put them on my list. Let's remove the stuff from yesterday, and we will add RBLX on this list here. So yeah, I do like Roblox today. Anything else besides earnings? Looks like the market is receiving that well this morning.
No, Roblox is really bad earnings. They beat on revenue, missed on their actual core earnings, but they are getting a little bit. I mean, look at the volume, right? 2.2 million. It's funny because
Yeah,
Roblox on a normal day doesn't trade very well, but earnings
yeah.
is when it comes alive.
Yeah. Earnings, and we've seen a couple of news uh, releases that have done pretty well for them. But yeah, they definitely are looking good this morning. Let's take a look at TTD here. Not a great trader, very light on volume for the most part today. They're doing very well. Looks like we got some movement here this morning on them.
Yep, same story. They missed their revenue, beat on earnings. In their case, they did increase their guidance, which was seen as a positive by the market. So, as you say, it's TTD, another one of those that on a normal day, I avoid this one like the plague. But when you
Yes.
get earnings, it can potentially move well. I'll be honest, though, I watch it a lot more than I play it. So we'll see if we get some movement today. I might put it on a secondary list, but I probably won't be too excited unless it does something really cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice pop, guys. This thing is up $7 from the close yesterday, from 50 to 57. We've been here before. I do like this to hopefully occur again. I mean, it gives you an opportunity as it drops down here, kind of close that gap on a secondary day, or if it does it today, start closing this gap because it tends that these tickers that don't get great volume, they tend to overreact when they get earnings. So I don't know. It could be an interesting one for a short, but we will have to wait and see. I agree with you for a possible secondary one. Again, we'll have to see how that turns out. Airbnb, here's another one that's doing good this morning, up 8.7, but again, they just don't trade very well as far as intraday trades. So they're obviously enjoying some after hours earnings from last night. Here, let's go. Yeah, was it last night the earnings on this? Oh yeah, here it is. Yep.
Airbnb, yes. Yesterday after
Yep.
the close, they had earnings, and it's funny because everybody's very excited about the earnings. Look at that after hours jump that we had, right? Jumped
Mm-hmm.
up, then leveled out for the rest of the evening and through this morning. So I don't know whether to expect movement on it today because of that pretty flat price action. We do have some volume this morning. But as you can see, it's sort of like the excitement all sort of ran out pretty quickly last night. A couple of our members did trade it, so congratulations to them. They got some good trades on it. But
Yeah.
overall, some good news out of Airbnb is they are um, increasing their future guidance in addition to the good earnings. Well, they did warn of an expectation of price cuts that are coming on properties, which I thought was sort of interesting news. That may not be a bad thing for them as long as they get their fees. It doesn't really matter
Yeah.
if the
Yeah.
renters themselves, right, make less. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So there it is, guys. Airbnb definitely in play today. Again, I'm on the fence on this one. I do like the gap up this morning, and I tend to believe this is not going to run anymore. It's up $10 already, so 8.6. I think we might get a little bit of some profit taken here, especially look at the run, guys. January, this thing was at 85 or so. We're sitting at 131. So I do like this one to come back down to earth a little bit. Let's put Airbnb here as a possible short. But again, I know how bad they can trade as far as intraday trading goes. Let's take a look at Futu here this morning, and they're doing some stuff today. They're popping up here pretty good at 7.5, 51, 45 this morning, up almost a dollar, $2.50 this today. Not sure what's going on. Now we see other Chinese tickers that are not doing well, like XBEF and Neo. Actually, are man, Neo is so bad now. It is crazy how
Yeah.
horrible this stock has become.
And it's
Oh
funny
my
because
goodness.
Neo was great for so long.
Yeah.
Now it just seems to be abandoned to the algos. Like that trading
Yeah.
is really just all the retail traders. I guess we've moved on to other things. It's
We
all
sure
Lucid and
have.
XPev and maybe just Tesla itself these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Neo's trading terribly. If anybody sees any news on Futu, I looked it up this morning because I
Hmm.
saw it on the list as well. Nothing. Like there's been no news on it for
Hmm.
a while, and I didn't find anything of interest. So if you guys know what's happening, I'd love to hear.
That is a big pop to not have anything. I mean, this thing it was very aggressive here around what 6 a.m. Look at the move there and up 7.5. So I'll keep it off the list because again, they don't trade very well, and the fact that we don't have any news is not great. So if you see something on that, let us know, guys. SI was active yesterday. What did it end up doing? I didn't watch this because it was a lower flow type stock, and it looked pretty horrible for the first part of the morning here. Did get going and just kind of slammed down and then ran towards the end of the day there. But yeah, not one that I'm interested in now. This is the one with the
SI is
70%.
interesting only in
Yeah.
that it may be a category mover. So this
Mm,
is what is it called? Silverstone Capital, or I can't remember the name of the company.
yeah.
Silvergate
Yeah.
Capital. But it was yesterday. It was trading on the rumor. Today, the rumor was confirmed that an investor, Citadel Capital, took a 5.5% stake in them, showing that they're taking a stake in the crypto market. So that seems to be having, like Mara, for example, is moving this morning. I can't find any news, which tells me that maybe it's just a sympathy play. I don't
Mm-hmm,
know,
mm-hmm.
but it's also moving this morning. But I think that's my guess, anyways. That Citadel chose to take a stake that's been announced of that size is showing some sympathy into the crypto. Maybe crypto's not dead yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, if we look at, let me see, how about coin? Because that's the one I will look at today. Coin, yeah, still with that. I get that could be what they're moving. They don't look great, so not a big fan of these today. So SI guys, if you'd like to trade that information there, SI could be on your list, but I don't like the way it looks at all this morning. Let's take a look at Shopify. Shopify today, they are up 3.3. Their pre-market activity seems to be quite alive here. 396,000 shares traded, and it looking to break the high of the pre-market at the moment. So that's looking pretty active there. Trade is very light on volume. Do they have anything going on today? Any news? Oh,
I think
earnings.
this must be in advance of earnings because I don't think they
Yeah,
had earnings yet. I think they're
not
at the
yet.
close or tomorrow. When are they?
Hmm.
They're at the close today. So
Yeah.
yeah, so this is just sort of the anticipatory move, if you will.
Yeah. So we'll be in play tonight for sure for those that are going to be trading earnings. And if you tomorrow we will definitely have it on this list depending on earnings goes today. So I'm not gonna add it on my list. Well, you know what? It does look interesting. I'll add it here. I probably won't trade. I'm sure I'm gonna find things that look a lot better once we start getting to our usual suspects like we did yesterday. Speaking of that, we'll add Tesla on here so we don't forget. And yeah, I'm sure we're gonna find something a little bit better to trade. Now here's Rye. We talked a little bit about this already. You got Rye, you got Coin, you got Mara. Again, if you'd like to trade these Bitcoin stocks, they all have become so bad as far as day trading. Coin is the only one that looks decent, but Riot, Mara, and what's the other one we used to have? There was another one. I forget, but they are
Uh,
just so bad.
Coin,
Um,
I guess it's
no,
that.
before Coin, it was Riot and Mara. And
Uh,
there was some other popular ones we used to trade quite a bit, and again, that's how bad
yeah,
they are. We forgot about them. It is what it is. So,
yeah.
uh, if you like those, you can look at that. BTBT, yes, Mr. T. BTBT was one of them too. And again,
I
it's
can't
just
remember what the other ones were.
but there was another big one too. It was Maracoin. It was another big one.
See what
Um,
happens. They move out of popularity, and I
yeah,
blank it from my memory. I
yeah.
need the memory banks for other stuff. So
Yeah, Hut was one of yes. There was so
I
many of them.
don't
There was so
remember
many of
these.
them. You don't
What?
remember? Well, you know, you
No.
probably were not trading them, but you had HUD, you had BBT, you have Riot, you have Coin, even Square at some point. Remember, SQ got into some of that. Was it Square that got into some blockchain? It was a whole bunch of them. Um,
Uh,
CAN. This was it. Yeah. This was the one that was high flying, I believe. Yeah, this is one. CAN. This was the other one here that was really active as well. I knew it was one of those. All right. But again, they all are just so trash now, man. Oh my goodness. All right, let's head on down here to Paramount. Paramount, it is up 2.3. No volume right now, just barely getting above that 100,000 shares trade. So not really in play. If you guys remember this drop here, what is it, 2 years ago? This was when that gentleman lost, I think, billions. Man, this was a huge drop there. But yeah, hasn't really recovered after that, and not looking all that great right now. UPST.
Paramount is one of the few, by the way, companies
Yeah.
that has a. There seems to be some shifting in portfolio holdings
Hmm.
over at Berkshire Hathaway, and whenever the Buffett group makes a move, stocks react. So Paramount got a little bit of increased investment. I'm not sure if we'll get to it, but TSM when we get to we'll talk about that when we get there. But that's another one that's impacted. So.
All right, we'll look at that shortly. IQ is on here as well, which is not looking great. We'll skip on that. And of course, we have Tesla up 2% this morning after just a huge day yesterday. Let's see what's gapping down. CRDO, this is down 44%, guys. So just getting body slammed this morning. Peter, what's the latest and greatest on this one?
CRDO. I again, this is one of these weird ones that I don't have any news on it. We don't normally trade it.
Yeah.
I only know their float seems okay at 105 million shares, but I don't have any news. So if you guys see what's happening on it, let me know. But
Interesting.
it's
That is
let me
a
know
big
something.
drop. Yeah, that's a big drop there. Flow is 91.2 on this thing. And earnings is not until March 8th, at least what I have on Trade Ideas. So somebody knows something, definitely getting just destroyed here. So we will see what happens with this one. I'll add it to my secondary list, but you're right. I don't like the way this trades. Looking at the volume, extremely light volume. I mean, on their best days in the last 2 months, we've done 4 million shares. Today we're doing half of that already, so maybe today could be the day, but it's not looking good. All right, looks like a
Well, the room is
Q4
helping out,
revenue.
saying that they
Yeah.
lost a major customer and they're getting some negative guidance. So both of those are
Mm-hmm.
impacting them today. Again, I'm not seeing that in the major news, but I'm sure it's out there. So thank you for that.
All
I
right.
do see the
Yeah.
downgrade, two downgrades to market perform and underperform respectively from. Well, one was Bank of America. So when Bank of America goes from a buy all the way down to an underperform, that's a big
Yeah.
downgrade. So
That's a
I
big
assume
drop.
that's impacting them. Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep. And all right, perfect. So we'll see what happens there. Again, I just don't know how much movement this is going to have. We'll put as a secondary. We'll come back to that. DVN this morning down 7.4. Doesn't look great. Looks very light on volume for the most part. And we've seen this one plenty of times. This is Devon Energy. They don't trade a whole lot when it comes to today trading. So I usually stay away from it. Here is a TSM. And Peter, I know you have something on this. Looks very active. Semis overall have been extremely active the last 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, so like I was saying, this is one of those impacts when Buffett or his group, because I don't know that he's actively making the trades anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but we always use his name in vain. But anyways, the Berkshire Hathaway sold a significant part of their stake in TSM, which is surprising people because they only took the stake just a little while ago, and generally that fund is buy and hold for years. I think they held this for less than a year and now are selling. So when that happens, usually people start to panic a little bit. So it's really nothing's changed fundamentally with the company that I can see, other than again, when Berkshire sells, other people get nervous, so that causes a little bit of a run on the stock.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, this one, guys, in play today for sure. I mean, you can see here we're holding on this level of 92. Looks like we tested lower even in the pre-market today. So if you like this one, definitely a day to watch this. Will be good to see how it reacts when the market opens. Again, when you have
Yeah.
the big boys making moves like that, it can tend to shift things here.
And,
Um,
and as Matthew or Chuck is pointing out in the room, the sale actually happened a while ago. Most of the sale, because it happened over a period of time with the size that
yeah,
he takes, sold in January, which is true. But what matters is when the news hits, right? And when the rest of the
yeah.
market reacts to it. And that's what we're seeing. That's the impact. The sale itself is not what's impacting it. It's the reaction to that.
Yeah, yeah. It's like when Elon was getting in and out of Twitter. same thing, right? We found out a couple of weeks later, and that's when things start to react there. All right, let's take a look here, guys. Next, we have Becky, BEKE this morning. They are down 2.8. Not a great pre-market activity. And again, another one that traded somewhat decent in the past, doesn't do that anymore. And we already spoke about XBEV and NEO. They are just so bad. I don't know what happened to them. NEO actually was my MVP towards the end of the year. I mean, from here to here, I was trading this thing almost every single day, and it was amazing. But since then, it has really, and I think it gave us a little short span over here as well. Then after that, it really has dropped when it comes to their trading. They still get the volume, 1 million shares traded, right? The volume, if you look at overall, hasn't really dropped much, right? It's a little higher here between October and December. Hasn't really dropped much, but man, they are just so bad. So won't be looking at that. GSK is another one that doesn't trade very well. They are down today 2.1 with 400,000 shares traded, but I usually stay away from this one. I believe it's foreign, if I'm not mistaken. It looks foreign. The way it's gapping up and down here like this just doesn't look good. All right. That is what we have. Peter, is there anything you like this morning so far?
Well, not that I like, but just to complete the news, to fill out information for everybody. I think I interrupted as you were about to talk about Upstart earlier there, Carlos,
Yeah.
UPST. They did have earnings and beat their numbers. Volume's okay this morning. Again, it's one of those that it only trades on earnings day, so might be a possible if you like trading that. Also in earnings, we had KHC, Kraft Heinz, beat their numbers. As well as Donut, DNUT. Neither one of those have a lot of volume this morning, but sometimes they can trade once the market opens. So just be aware they both had earnings. Trip was another one that's in that same bucket. Not much happening this morning. Had positive earnings. And I think that's gapping up again with the general positivity. It's probably being buoyed a little bit by the positivity on Airbnb as well. So again, that just so you know, a lot of earnings happening this morning.
Yeah.
Last one that
Yeah.
I'll mention, just because I thought it was interesting. One of our members mentioned it indirectly. Avaya announced bankruptcy for the second time. And they're expecting after this bankruptcy, they will basically have no assets left. So
Which is that one?
AVYA. Now, this is
AVYA.
one AVYA, yeah. But I mean, it's on hold. You can see it's halted. It's trading
Yeah.
at what, like 30 cents, 28 cents, something like that. Like,
Yeah.
anyways, I'm just mentioning it because when you get a bankruptcy, sometimes weird things can happen on bankruptcy stocks. And I know there's a few people, that like to trade those because you can get some wild swings, but they're super, super risky at this point. If
Oh,
it
yeah.
even opens today, they could keep
Yeah.
this halted all day because of because of that news. So, but anyways,
Yeah.
just be aware
Yeah.
of it. Other than that, things that I like, the usual suspects. You already mentioned Tesla, which has been just such a steady mover for us over the last couple of weeks. I keep that, AMD, and Apple on my list all the time, but nothing special is happening in those other two yet.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Definitely like Tesla. I definitely like Nvidia as well. So I'm going to be adding Nvidia to the list. Again, I had a big day yesterday. Not doing a whole lot as far as movement this morning. Tesla looks much cleaner, but I do like Nvidia. And how's AMD today? Is it probably the same thing as Nvidia? Yeah, looking good actually. Like the daily AMD as well. So we'll throw that on there. Also, all right, let's take it to the room, guys. See what you guys like this morning. See what's was good on your list. BKKT. Oh, we're talking about the still the Bitcoin. Yeah, no, this was I don't recall this one. This one I don't remember. But yeah, this is another one too. Again, all these tickers coming back down to really low prices. They had their fun. Kodak was another one, Jeffrey, too. Kodak got into Bitcoin as well and all that blockchain stuff. Futu, well, we have news on that. That's good. PLTR. Let's take a look. PLTR, again, I had it on the list yesterday. I really didn't look at the price action, because we had just everything else going on with Tesla, Nvidia. They were so great in the morning. You didn't really have to look elsewhere, but it did get pretty nice towards the end of the day here. We got a nice little run there. So yeah, today, as far as a continuation, they have volume. Maybe, but I just feel like this is a stock that I don't see myself trading, but maybe. Peter, I'm not sure if you took a look at how PTR and the way it was yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought it was pretty choppy in the morning. There was good pre-market action. Didn't trade good in the morning. Had some afternoon moves that you could have taken advantage of. It's now it's a second day play, so there might
Yeah.
be some movement in it. But yeah, I wouldn't do anything more than put it on a secondary list and wait and see if it does get some motion. Pre-market, it's looking a little bit like the computers are trading it, which is what's creating the volume. If I look at
Yeah.
these little
Yeah.
1 minute
Yeah.
candles, they look very algorithmic on a 1 minute chart. So, yeah, I may just leave it alone.
Yeah, it doesn't look great right now. Hopefully, it can get better, but right now, looking pretty ugly at the moment. All right, let's take a look here. Apple from Prince Traders giving us Apple, one of our usual suspects, and yeah, and look at Apple's doing. Let me remove some of the levels here.
If
Here
we
we go.
get some more positivity in the market, sort of like what Jared was saying in the pre-market, right? Like we,
Mm-hmm.
we have these sentiments exactly, Carlos. We can see it's really sort of setting this tight range here. It's looking ready for a topside breakout on Apple, but you just never know when it's going to happen, right? It could be today, tomorrow, next week. So, but I watch it every day, so hopefully I'll be ready if and when it happens.
Yeah, yeah. Could not agree with you more. So again, you see it there, guys. So right now, trying to hit the previous day close, is kind of flirting with that a little bit there. But I do like Apple's daily as well. It's just getting ready for a possible play there towards the long side. Roblox, what are we seeing? Roblox here, yeah, pulling away up 18% now, man. The swings on Roblox are actually very aggressive if you think about it. If you look at the last couple of months, I mean, you can see they gone from what 26 a couple of times there, here, all the way up. Let's not even count this massive pop here, but let's just count here all the way up to 40 in a matter of like a couple of months, back and forth, back and forth. So they can swing very aggressive. Today they're up already, 20% from the previous day close. So they're definitely cranking, and they're looking pretty good right now. So yeah, so we'll see how that's going to continue. Volume is looking great. 3 million shares traded. Yeah, looking pretty nice here. So Roblox doing its thing. All right, what else we have, guys, that you guys like this morning? Amazon. Let's take a look here how Amazon is holding up today. Um, you know what? I think it'll be good, but right now it doesn't look great. Like if you look at an Apple, I prefer to have my focus on this because the way it's trading now, and the way the daily is. Even if you look at Nvidia and AMD, they're both very similar right now, where they're just pulling back a little bit from the highs from yesterday, but they still have a really amazing daily. Amazon doesn't seem to have that, right? It seems a little bit more choppy, especially like the last 2 weeks. You see these candles are very small. Could break out one way or the other if we see strength, but I think I'm going to go with something that the daily looks a little more attractive, right? So that is my take on Amazon. Still could be an amazing possible, and if you have room, like what I really should do is take either AMD or Nvidia off and move Amazon up just to have something different. But we'll see. Still a top possible, but I think there's slightly better things on our list this morning. Um, Alphabet has been disappointing. Alphabet, Annie, doesn't trade very well, and that's the problem with Google. It does not trade good at all. It is very very I don't want to say choppy, but it's just I don't know. You don't get no great pre-market action. I mean, price action. That's the problem. We saw a couple of days here where they did very well. We had the huge gap up there, and you can see the candles are very nice here. So we had a lot of movement in here. But for the most part, this is how they trade. This is how they trade, and also lighter on volume than other tickers do, right? 30 million or so compared to like an Apple or AMD, Nvidia. So it's different. It's a different animal. So um, they really kept their like DNA from when they were trading at like was $2,000 or something, whatever it was. They were just not a great trader even at this price here. Um, all right, I think we are all good. AI plays Microsoft and Google. Well, Microsoft doesn't look good. Sorry, Google doesn't look good. Microsoft is usually a better trader, but the last couple of days, I haven't seen anything all that exciting right now. Volume is okay. We'll have to wait for the market open for this thing to get better. Man, they were brutal yesterday. Look at this. They were just all over the place. This is wild.
I
This
can't.
is not good.
Yeah, I can't trade Microsoft. I just can't read it. And like you say, I look at that chart and I'm like, oh my god, that would just be disastrous for me if I tried. So
Yeah, yeah. That will definitely stop you out quite a bit. Good morning, Andrew. Andrew's in the YouTube chat. Say good morning to Andrew. His username there, Bearable Traders. And Andrew and Mike, since we got a little bit of time, had a nice dinner yesterday after his webinar, scalping and trade management, which the recording will be up later today. So if you missed it, you can catch the recordings. We were making jokes. Anybody in that webinar is probably going to end up being divorced for skipping dinner and watching the webinar yesterday, but hope that's not the case. So we got a couple of shots here. I'll bring them up later after the announcements. I'll bring up some pictures I have here from Mike and Andrew. All right, excellent. Let's take it to our announcements.
All right. Well, that brings us to the outline of what's happening in the Bearable Traders community. So, like we always tell you and remind you, if you're new, then you want to attend the Monday night onboarding session. That session gives you an introduction to Bearable Traders and all that we have to offer, 8 o'clock in our classroom. Tuesdays, we had a great session this week, our strategy session, like we mentioned. It was Andrew on Valentine's Day as he serenaded his Valentine's partner, Mike, this week, and then they went out for a lovely, lovely meal or something afterwards. I don't know. I saw a picture of them in a supermarket, so I don't know what that was going on. But anyways, the session was wonderful. It will be posted later today. Next week, Thor is going to be with us. He Barracuda's like weird. Anyways, Thor is going to be with us at 8 o'clock in the webinar room talking about his Camarilla pivot points. Always a popular topic because he trades them so effectively. So hopefully you'll join us next week for that. That brings us to today. It's Wednesday, which means that not only is it hump day, but it's a psychology Wednesday. So this Wednesday, Mike is going to be live from Vancouver talking about how you can examine your background and history with money. We all like to think we have a great relationship with money, right? I love it. It loves me. Bring me more. But the reality is it's deeper and more complex than that. It can affect your trading in ways you don't expect. So it's good to explore that. And Mike will help you at 8 o'clock tonight in the webinar room. That brings us to tomorrow, which is Thursdays are always about psychology, about our mentorship. And John will be with us at 11 o'clock in the chat room, 11 o'clock in the webinar room, and then Thor in the evening at 8 o'clock. So hopefully you'll join us tomorrow for those sessions. As you can see, as a member, there's always lots going on, always learning to be had. In addition to that, we're live all the time in the chat room talking about our trades and what's happening and what we see. I did a live trading session with our friends at Peak Capital, and then we have these tools that are always available at Trading Terminal. Those are completely free. Hopefully you'll check them out. Tons of good stuff. We've been using them all morning to understand earnings, to understand the news and what's happening. Check it out yourself, because not only can you get access to all the information like Carlos is showing you, but we have a simulator in there so that you can trial your trades and backtest information. You can get information on what's coming in the economic calendar. It's a fantastic resource. TradingTerminal.com. Again, no cost, zero cost. So check it out, and you can find some great stuff in there. That being said, we do have events that we like to put on, and our next one coming up is right at the beginning of March. Now, just over 2 weeks away. In fact, I think I'll be leaving 2 weeks today to go to this live trading summit. So hopefully we'll see you there. If you haven't already signed up, there's still time. I think we've got maybe about 5 or 6 spots left. It's happening March the 2nd and 3rd. It's the first time we're putting on a 2-day summit. We've got some special guests. We got a dinner on the first night. We got live trading, obviously our educational material, and just the opportunity to talk with other traders. Right, get their insight live in person. Put a face to a lot of the names and the voices that you hear online. So it's a fantastic event. Hopefully, we will see you there in San Diego. Let alone for someone like me coming from Canada, I get to go somewhere with nice weather. So that's always a plus. If you want to join us here in the room, we have our introduction offer, which is $24 for all of you listening right now. Use the code PreMarket24 to get access to that. 1 week access to both our chat rooms, the stock trading chat room where we're live streaming right now, as well as our options chat room, which is open today because it is open on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. use the code PreMarket24 to get access to that. If you want to get access to all of our educational material and all those webinars we were talking about, then you need to join as one of our basic elite or elite annual members. So do that, and you will get that access. The elite annual is the best deal, of course. You pay up front for the year, but you get a big discount, and we're very confident in the value that you will receive. So hopefully you'll do that, and we'll see you in the chat room sometime soon.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Peter. I'm getting used to this. I'm getting used to this.
You almost called me Norm again.
I almost called you Norm. Yeah, we're getting used to this. Don't worry. We're gonna in 4 years
right.
we'll get it. We'll get it.
Exactly. Take some adjusting. That's cool.
Guys, make sure you follow Andrew at Bareboot Traders on almost all social media. Here is his Instagram account, and there's the picture we're talking about. Look at that beautiful dinner they were having yesterday. Looks like salmon and some kind of salad. So it looks really, really nice there. So yeah, so definitely follow them there. And they had an amazing time over in Vancouver. Oh, some more pictures here. Here's the one you were talking about, Peter. The one
There
in
you
the
go.
restaurant.
That's the one.
There
Yeah.
it is. And even Megan was celebrating as well. Here's Megan. Megan's got her her Valentine's flower there, and I believe this is some kind of vegan dish. I gotta get on her to see what's going on here, but it looks delicious. I gotta say, we're heavy.
It is not rare steak. Those are definitely beets. So.
Yes, absolutely. So I hope everyone had an amazing time yesterday with friends and family. All right, guys, let's get back into business here. Our list right now: Roblox. We have Tesla, Nvidia, and AMD. So Semi's looking pretty good this morning. Had a great day yesterday, and we are looking at Apple as well. So it has a great day as well. Cannot wait to see if this thing potentially can break out here. So. Good list made up of a lot of our usual suspects, but Roblox is leading the way. I think, man, Roblox gonna hit 20%. This thing is up $7 from the close. I mean, it is cranking, guys. Looking really good this morning. So let's get to some levels, and then we'll look at our moderators list. I see Thor already has his list ready to go. We'll do some levels here, and Peter, as I'm going through this, if you see any news, cut me at any time, and we can, we have a little time. We can go and get into anything else you see out there.
Will do.
As far as levels, Tesla high of the pre-market right now, making a new recent high here. We're looking at 214.48, so that looks good there. Towards the bottom, the low of the pre-market below the previous day close over at 208. And once you put those two there, even towards the bottom, you're pretty much set. But I do like this area here because, again, from 208 all the way down to 195, 190. That could be a stretch. You might see a little bit of a stutter step around 200, 202. I don't think you make that straight move down. But Tesla is a beast, guys. I mean, look at it yesterday. They go from 191 all the way to 210. So this stock can move very aggressive in both directions. And if it trade like it did yesterday, it can be really, really nice for us this morning. So let's see here. Looking to the left to find a level a little bit higher. We're looking at 218. That seems to be an area where we do have a little bit of resistance and support right across the board there. So that is looking good. I did skip Roblox. Let's go back to Roblox. So I did skip Roblox. Let's go back here and see where we're at right now. High of the pre-market, which again continues to make a new high every couple of minutes here. 42.69, 42.71 to be exact, is our high of our pre-market. Let's look towards the top here above that and see what do we have. So over here, we do have a level around 44.23. We do have 45.58. And all the way up here, guys, 47.54. And the way this thing is going, it can easily hit those levels if we do have a great open. I'm sure we're gonna have some kind of pullbacks. This is a big move already, getting a little bit extended on the daily, but again, they got the momentum right now. Towards the bottom, right on here, we see a little bit of some support at 41.30. Let's go back to our price action. So 41.30. No, surprise, right? 41.30 here. Also, the latest area that we have some kind of a resistance. And if we look even lower, this is another very clear level, guys, at 38.45. I mean, doesn't get cleaner than that across the board. You see a lot of resistance happening there. All right, so that is at Roblox. Tesla, we are good on there as well. Let's look at Nvidia. Nvidia this morning, I'm going to remove some levels because if you look at the stuff we had yesterday, some of that stuff is overlapping from our highs and lows this. There we go. Yeah. There we go. All right, so here we go. So looking at Tesla low of the pre-market, 226.68. That is good. And then towards the high of the pre-market, we're looking at 229.14. So 229.14 is our high there as far as NVIDIA goes. Towards the bottom, plenty of levels, right? We kind of have our highs and lows for the last two trading days. And now let's look towards the top above this 229. You have your previous day close on there as well. And you do have a couple of highs here from 3 to 4 days ago. So right on there, they're slamming against that high of the high from yesterday and also previous day close. So this area, an area of resistance after the nice run that NVIDIA has had, not just starting in January. I mean, this thing's been going on since October, had a nice drop here and then quickly recover that and then some. So again, the run on these semiconductors has been exceptionally good in the last couple of months. Let's take a look here. A level towards the top. We're looking at, man, we're going back towards. So if you look at this daily now, let me not zoom in just yet. Let's go back. If you look at this daily, we are going back towards almost a year here now. Well, yeah, April, March, where we have not been up here in quite some time. So we're getting up to almost a 52-week levels here, which is really nice. It shows you how much down this thing has been, and now the recovery into 2023. So again, really nice run of the lows here on this daily. Towards the top above this 229 and the previous day close at 229.71. We do have a very clean level here, guys, 238. And then we also have 249. Again, I don't think we'll get to 249, but 238 can be a possibility, especially if we get some strength in the market today. So we'll see what happens there. Here is AMD. AMD also has a great daily towards the bottom. Really clean stuff there. Highs and lows for the last two trading days. I'm going to go ahead and add our pre-market low at 84.66. And then towards the top, just a couple of levels here, 87 and really 87.96 and 88.86. And that's all you really need. And then last but not least here is Apple. Again, Apple also been kind of pushing against this 154. That has been an area of a lot of resistance over the last couple of days, probably 2 weeks or so. Low of the pre-market is going to be down at 151.99. And once we slam a level there, the only other level you need is really this one here, 155.21. So you're kind of smack in the middle of the highs and lows of the last two trading days, guys, as you can see here. Very close to the previous day close, pretty much flat for today with some really insane volume, right? The volume, if you look at the volume, actually 4.1 million looks a little bit strange, the fact that we haven't really moved much. We're pretty much flat at the previous day close. So very interesting volume from Apple there, as we're just looking at that now. So, all right, excellent. I think we are all set, guys. I don't see anything else. Our moderators list is getting ready here. We will have that for you in a second. If you haven't done so over on YouTube, guys, hit that thumbs up. We appreciate it very much. We are sitting at, what are we sitting at? 140 likes. We'd love to get to 250. That is like our threshold. If we stay below 250, then me and Peter got to reconsider what we're doing here. So we'd love to be above 250. If you guys can help us, that would be amazing. Peter, anything else to cover?
No, I don't have anything. Excuse me. I think you covered it all.
Okay, excellent. So I see a couple of you guys throwing out Roku. Is Roku doing anything? Roku, no, light on volume right now, so it's not really doing a whole lot at the moment. Pretty light for the most part. All right, let's bring in our moderators list. So we will go ahead and bring this over here and see what we have going on. Actually, I'm going to stop the recording so you don't get the mirror effect. Here we go. And then we will bring this over and see what our team is watching here this morning. So let's go like this so we don't block the list. And let's see what we got going on. So starting with, here we go, Thor. So Thor is looking at Tesla, Roblox, Futu, TSM, and NVIDIA. Peter, here's some IPOs we have for today. I'm not going to read those out, but these are right here for you. And then you can see the asterisk are carryovers from previous days there. Peter, your list this morning, AMD, Airbnb, Tesla. Secondary list, Roblox, Devon Energy, and TSM. And then Susan will be looking at Tesla, AMD, and Nvidia for her today. So pretty similar list to what everybody's watching, right? Tesla's on everybody's list. We have Nvidia, which has been really great, and also Roblox making an appearance today this morning. So perfect, guys. We'll wait for Brian to come on. We'll transition over to him over on YouTube in just a second here. And him and Andrew will prepare us for the live trading as we get closer to 9:30. I'm gonna check some messages here. Make sure we didn't miss anything, but it looks like we're very good so far. Oh, 205. Almost there, almost there. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it for those that are hitting that button. Appreciate it very much.
We do appreciate it.
Let's see.
You know, I was yesterday was another day where I didn't get a lot of trades off yesterday, but I felt I had a good trading day. So hopefully today will be a slightly more trade activity for me. But you know, sometimes in the market, you know, being a trader can be tough at times because there's a lot
yeah.
of waiting and watching, right?
That's
And
the
we tend to
hardest part.
think, right,
Mhm.
to be a trader, you need to trade all the time, and
Yeah.
nothing could be farther from the truth. The more I read about, you know, the good traders, the professional traders, the more, you know, often it is that they say the toughest thing they had to learn was discipline, right? How to manage themselves against what their trade setups are, and then for themselves manage their own psychology and just figure out, you know, when to stay out of trouble and then when to jump when the opportunity was there and to fully take advantage of it. And I felt really good the last couple of days. While I had very few trades, in fact, it was yesterday afternoon was the first time I took a trade in 2.5 days. You know, I still feel very good about my trading because I feel I appropriately avoided risk and you know, let myself sort of stay in the game to wait for the good opportunities to arise. And you know, I don't have these big negative days now weighing on me where I might have get stuck in chop. So let's see what today brings.
Yep, absolutely. I see Brian has his list ready, guys, and he's going to be looking at Tesla, DVN, Becky, Airbnb, and also Roblox today. So that's looking pretty good as well. All right, guys. Excellent. We will see you guys. Peter and I will see you guys tomorrow. Is Thursday, so we'll see you at 8 a.m. first with Jared engineering the markets, and then we will hop into to the show with Peter and I. Good. Wait for Brian to come in. Brian, step in whenever. Cut me off. I just want to leave an awkward silence, and we will switch over to him. In the meantime, as he is doing that, don't forget, guys, we do have. There's Brian. We do have a second chat room also for options. So over on YouTube, if you want to try that out, you can definitely do the 7-day trial. Pre-Market 24 gets you access for 7 days plus an onboarding class with me on Monday, which is a whole lot of fun, by the way. We have quite a bit of fun. We actually have a couple of members that come every Monday. So now my challenge is every Monday I got to put something new for them because if not, they'll get bored. So definitely join for that. And we'd love to see you there, guys. So take care and trade safe. Brian and Andrew up next.
Have a great trading day, everyone.
Thank you, Carlos, Peter. So, yeah, let's, RBLX came out with some good numbers here, obviously. Big move up. Devon, yes, Devon could be a rising devil trade. Art, I'm just a little early to call that one, but we'll wait and see. See, it's strong retail sales again. Come in. Yeah, not a lot of volume. I'm looking at Becky as a rising devil too, but not a lot of volume there. Just trying to figure out what's going on with all these stocks here this morning. Morning, Cindy. Let's see here. What else? Devon's down. UPST's up. Let's see. Possible. It's looking a little weak on RBLX right now. It's kind of rolling over a bit. Yeah, there isn't a lot of market activity in any of the things I'm looking at right now. Devon's dropped a bit here, but it's kind of just hanging on. Airbnb is doing nothing really. Tesla's really flatlined this morning. Becky has very little volume. What else? What else? Yeah, I'm gonna keep looking because I'm not super keen on anything quite yet. Sounds like Andrew's right inside a garbage truck.
Good morning, guys. Sorry, no, it's not garbage truck. It's Mike. Mike was moving some stuff. So Tesla is popping up. So I think Tesla, AMD, NVIDIA, the usual suspects, are doing really well. Is there anything amazing going on?
RBLX had earnings. It was good. Airbnb had earnings. It was good. Airbnb's looking weak. Airbnb could be a lead balloon trade.
RBLX 18%, huh? RBLX is also interesting. RBLX. Never traded Airbnb.
Yeah, it hasn't been trading very well in the pre-market, but
let's see what the Jareds are doing over there. Nice.
The Jareds.
If the SPY's not going anywhere, then I'm afraid, some of these earnings.
Alrighty. So I do have some Tesla and NVIDIA from yesterday that I forgot to sell. Actually, that last partial. So market is gapping down a little bit. Was there a number at 8 o'clock? Or no? Let's go to trading terminal. What we can do is we go to trading terminal. All right, let's see to trading terminal. Economic calendar. San Diego reminder.
Yep.
There's nothing. There should be more.
There was retail sales this morning at 8:30, I believe.
Right. Doesn't load.
Yeah, ADI is up quite a bit. Dollar, yeah, the dollar's strong. Yeah, dollar's really strong. So it's taking down gold and silver, and it's taking down. I also noticed emerging markets were down, which is usually what happens when the dollar is strong as well. So it goes Airbnb is dropping. Don't like the spread on Airbnb is horrible. RBLX still looks a little strong. Okay, well, it looks like and the markets are kind of getting weak too. We're getting down to low of pre-market here. Starting to sell off a bit. Let's see, what's... Okay. I don't really know that much about the currency markets. I mean, obviously, when oil and metals are strong, usually the Canadian dollar is strong, but the Canadian dollar is or the Canadian government has sort of taken the position that they're not going to raise anymore. So if the U.S. If the central bank in the U.S. keeps raising interest rates, it's going to put pressure on any currencies that aren't raising interest rates. So I think Tesla looks interesting. I think it's going to sell off at the open and then maybe snap back like it did yesterday. We'll see. Devon, really no volume on Devon.
Tesla. So it's up 1.4%.
Okay, we came down to the low of pre-market, bounced off that. Yeah. I hope so. Give me a chance to change some of my US dollars into Canadian, cheaper rate. What's Mike? Is Mike going back today or?
Mike is going back tomorrow. We had a really nice Valentine dinner all together. Mike and I, very romantic.
Oh, romantic. Yeah,
very romantic.
You could have joined. I should have invited you to the incinerator. I apologize for that.
Yeah, I mean, you go all the good places by yourself.
Okay, well, we've got just over a minute to the open. Market's bouncing a little bit here, but we're now down below the 9 moving average on both SPY and the Qs. Roblox looking like it's picking up a bit of steam here going into the open. I'd watch as Roblox as a fallen angel. You got the old burn barrel, eh? Okay, watch RBLX. Let's see what else. I'm not really keen on much. RBLX looks like the most interesting. Devon I'll short. RBLX is weakening up. Devon I'll short on a pop probably. Okay, here we go.
All right, so the market is open in game. Get out of my Tesla. I had some Tesla from oh shit, I'm short now. I'm a little bit I had some short in Tesla. I'm gonna shares. Sorry, I had some shares from Tesla from yesterday, so I sold it. Let's see what I have some NVIDIA too. Let me get out of that as well.
I'm just short some Tesla. Maybe we'll drop down to the previous day close here. Seems to be holding here. Airbnb popping a bit, RBLX popping. I'm getting out of
RBLX.
Tesla.
See what RBLX is doing. Doesn't
Not
have much volume. Surprisingly, there's no volume in it. No order flow.
No. Okay, so we popped up. We're popping up on the SPY to the VWAP.
Tesla is squeezing up. Nice. Tesla might potential long on Tesla. Let's see if he gets the VWAP. He's very bullish.
I'm long on RBLX. See if we get through 43 here.
Very bullish on Tesla. It's a really nice squeeze. Let's see if we can get a pullback. We'll get long on it.
Just sold some RBLX, just around 40, just under 43.
I'm getting some long on Tesla.